Putin Breaking News Kiev strikes airfield in Crimea as Putin prepares for Turkey visit. An airstrip in Russia-occupied Crimea has allegedly been hit by Ukrainian forces, just as Putin is about to visit NATO member Turkey. Mykola Olszczuk, commander of the Ukrainian Air Force, announced the strike on Belbek airfield at the Crimean Peninsula's southwestern edge in a telegram post. Near Russia's primary naval base in Sevastopol, he expressed gratitude to the troops for carrying out the operation. Though some debris had struck a military base, it had no effect on aviation equipment, and Moscow claimed to have intercepted the strike by shooting down 20 missiles from Ukraine. It follows confirmation from a Turkish official that Russian President Vladimir Putin will meet with Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan on his February visit to the country. Since Russia invaded Ukraine in February 2022, this will be the first visit to a NATO member by the Russian leader. Turkey has been trying to keep relations amicable with Russia and Ukraine ever since Moscow's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. The two countries share a Black Sea maritime boundary. It opposes sanctions on Russia and has opposed military aid to Kiev, both of which have shown support for the Ukrainian capital's territorial integrity. The source informed Reuters on Wednesday that Alexander Syrsky, commander of the ground forces in Ukraine, turned down the opportunity to succeed Valery Zaluzhnyi as head of the armed forces. According to Ukrainian media, General Zaluzhnyi, the chief of the Ukrainian army, was requested by President Volodymyr Zelensky to step aside this week, but he refused. The source, who wanted to remain anonymous because the subject matter is sensitive, couldn't reveal when or how Syrsky was informed of the job offer, after his men valiantly defended Kiev from Moscow's forces at the beginning of Russia's full-scale invasion over 2 years ago. Many in Ukraine consider Zaluzhnyi a hero. In response to inquiries for comment, neither the Ukrainian General Staff nor the President's office were immediately available. On Wednesday, the ICJ ruled that Russia had breached the UN Anti-Discrimination Treaty by not protecting Ukrainian language education in Crimea. According to the highest court in the United Nations, enrollment in Ukrainian language schools fell precipitously following Russia's 2014 declaration that it had seized Crimea from Ukraine. But the court dismissed additional allegations of post-annexation discrimination against ethnic Tatars and Ukrainians and did not award Ukraine the compensation it had sought from Russia. For the first time since an aircraft crash earlier this month killed everyone on board, a jet that Moscow said was carrying 65 Ukrainian captives, Russia and Ukraine have swapped hundreds of prisoners of war. The Russian Defense Ministry reported that both nations had traded 195 captured soldiers, while the Ukrainian government claimed to have acquired 207 prisoners of war. Our troops have returned 27,000 people. No matter what, we will return them home, stated Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Every Ukrainian held captive is in our thoughts. Military and citizens alike. Everyone has to come back. It is being addressed. Keep reading to find out. On Wednesday, the European Union announced that it will not be able to meet its March deadline of delivering 1 million artillery shells to Ukraine. Additionally, it added that little more than half of that amount will be delivered by that date. After a meeting of EU defense ministers in Brussels, Josep Borrell, the bloc's top diplomat, stated that the original goal of delivering all pledged rounds by the end of the year will be reached by March, with around 52% of those rounds already delivered. The goal was established because 155mm artillery shells are essential for Ukraine's defense against Russia's invasion in 2022, which is turning into a fierce war of attrition. There was some initial inertia, but then once things get set in motion, they can speed up, Borrell explained, setting the stage for why the EU will miss its own deadline. A high-ranking U.S. official expressed her certainty that Congress would approve a revised aid package for Ukraine that reflects the widespread American backing for that country's military campaign. The United States and other Western allies have been crucial in helping Ukraine weather Russia's full-scale invasion, which is getting on for 2 years. The future of U.S. military and economic aid to Ukraine is clouded in uncertainty as Congress weighs President Joe Biden's urgent request for an extra $61 billion. Republicans' demands that the proposal be connected to a separate change in immigration policy have caused the request to stall. according to U.S. Undersecretary of State Victoria Nuland. Bipartisan support for Ukraine remains strong across the country following a day of meetings with Ukrainian counterparts. The Ukrainian people's remarkable resilience in the face of Russia's brutal attack is well known and greatly admired in the United States. What happens if you keep going and even thrive? They get it. When Congress votes on President Biden's proposal, I'll bet money that their comprehension will be evident, according to Askold Krushelnicki. The president's desire to remove his most beloved general is evident, but the task is more challenging than it appears. The conflict has escalated at an inopportune moment, as important Western partners are still unwilling to agree to more help and Russia is increasing its air and ground attacks. In March election, Boris Nadezhdin, a Russian anti-war presidential candidate, has submitted 105,000 signatures to the Central Election Commission, CEC, which is technically sufficient to contest incumbent Vladimir Putin. The 60-year-old Nadezhdin, nevertheless, is not expected to win. It is generally believed that 71-year-old Putin, who has held the positions of president or prime minister since the end of 1999 and controls all the levers of the state, will win. Speaking at the CEC, Nadezhdin emphasized that, in accordance with the regulations, all signatures were obtained within Russia and did not comprise those obtained outside of the country. Nadezhdin and other would-be candidates will have their signatures verified by election officials. A number of them have recently dropped out of the contest. The man further claimed that ordinary people had contributed tens of thousands of dollars to his campaign. The special military operation in Ukraine was started by Putin, who committed a fatal error, according to Nadezhdin. Legislation authorizing the seizure of assets from individuals found guilty of willfully disseminating false information about the Russian military was finally approved by the lower chamber of parliament on Wednesday in Russia. Official video from the State Duma's third and final reading shows that the bill passed with 377 yes votes, 0 negative votes, and 0 abstentions. Doesn't our government have a statute that holds traitors accountable for betraying our officers, soldiers, and fighters? The nation has lost a lot of its citizens. How, however, might we sway their decisions? During the session, Chairman Vyacheslav Volodin addressed the lawmakers. As the conflict between the two nations continues, Russia has repressed criticism of its 2022 invasion of Ukraine, which it describes as a special military operation. A number of Moscow locals voiced their disapproval of the sentence, arguing that anyone found to have discredited the army deserved to face prosecution. Someone were to discredit the army, they could face criminal charges or perhaps imprisonment. Nikita, who only provided his first name, explained that people may have saved up for their property for years or even decades, so it's unfair to take it away from them. The highest court in the United Nations seized Russian violations of a UN anti-terrorism convention that did not address Kiev's claims that Moscow shot down Malaysia Airlines flight MH17 over eastern Ukraine in 2014. Same ICJ decision stated that after Russia's 2014 takeover of Crimea, the country violated an anti-discrimination convention by not funding Ukrainian language programs there. Kiev suffered a legal defeat as a result of the rulings. Russia was the only party that the court ordered to adhere to the treaties. Ukraine sought damages for both breaches, but the court denied their petitions. Russia was accused by Ukraine of sponsoring pro-Russian rebels in Ukraine, which led to the 2017 filing of a complaint at the ICJ, often known as the World Court, accusing Russia of breaking an anti-terrorism treaty. According to the court's ruling, Russia broke the United Nations anti-terrorism treaty by ignoring credible claims that some money was transferred from Russia to Ukraine with the intention of funding terrorist operations. Although the 16-judge panel rejected Kiev's demand for damages, it did ask Russia to investigate any reasonable claims of terrorist financing. On Wednesday, the Ukrainian military asserted that they had attacked a military air facility in Crimea that is currently under Russian occupation. In response, Moscow claimed to have shot down the attackers' missiles. However, some of their debris did strike a military installation. The operation, which targeted Belbek Airport near Russia's main naval station at Sevastopol near the southern tip of the Crimea Peninsula, was led by Ukraine's Air Force Chief Mykola Olszczuk, who expressed gratitude to the troops in a Telegram post. He posted a video of the alleged attack to social media and stated, "Ukrainian aviators will definitely return to their home airfield." Russian Defense Ministry claims that Moscow intercepted and destroyed 20 Ukrainian missiles, including 17 over the Black Sea and 3 over the peninsula, preventing an